Dr. Maddy Roth here with Roth Consulting Group. Today, I wanted to talk about measuring your return on your time and efforts. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but I wanted to revisit it. I've talked on here before about how different businesses, online coaches, they have a lot of metrics when they are running their business to see what the ROI is on their marketing efforts. And it just astounds me that these cash pay PTOT businesses are not really doing the same. I really feel like our marketing is just so willy-nilly. Like, okay, we need to do some workshops. Like, I need patients. Let's do workshops. Let's go to these doctor offices. Let's run these Google ads. Let's optimize our website. And it can be really stressful. It's like, okay, spend all that time on that workshop. Was it worth it? I don't really know. So I think it's important to measure and have a monetary value to our return on investment for different marketing efforts. And it can make it feel a lot less stressful. It can take the emotion out of the whole situation and really guide you and give you direction on how you should market your pelvic health practice. So something that a lot of online coaches talk about is your LTGP, your lifetime gross profit for a patient or client. And I loved that. I just thought that was so interesting to calculate. So I calculated that for our business. And then another thing they often calculate is your CAC, which is your cost to acquire a customer, cost to acquire a patient. And that is something that also is really interesting to calculate. So I started to look at my different marketing efforts and see where I get my biggest bang for my buck. It can be great to be diverse, but it's also good to know what's working. Let's hit that really hard. So let's talk about cost to acquire a customer. When we run our Facebook ads, we get leads, but not everyone books. But when we run our calculations, our cost per customer, so someone that actually comes in for an evaluation, it costs us $30 to $50 typically to get one of these leads in, which is great. And some of you might think like, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend $30 for a customer. Like, that seems like way too much. And really, wow, it is astounding what us as cash practice pelvic health business owners can do. To be able to get a customer for $30 is pretty insane. I'm comparing to some online coaches. Their standard when you run Facebook ads is spending $500 to acquire a customer and spending $100 for a phone call. But even still, if you think about it and you go back to the lifetime gross profit or the value of a customer, say each customer is worth $2,000 to you, $30 is nothing. Even these online coaches that say a 3x ROI is great, so they're fine with spending $500 to acquire a $2,000 paying customer, and that's actually considered really good. So I think we also have to be a little objective when we're using our marketing dollars and say, okay, that seems like a lot, like $50 per eval for these Facebook ads, but lifetime value, if this person is purchasing a plan of care package, they're so worth it. And if they come back postpartum, so you got them during pregnancy, they come back postpartum, I mean, they're worth way more than $2,000. So it's weird to talk about patients being equivalent to a number, but for me, that lowers my stress levels because I think, okay, I'm not just beating a dead horse here. Like, we spend the $30 and we get them in and it gives us whatever, a 30x return on our ad spend, but also we're helping someone that wouldn't have gotten helped. You can look, it's really easy to track it for online marketing like Facebook ads because it's super easy to calculate, okay, how much did I spend on ads this month? And you calculate what your cost per evaluation was. Okay, I spent this amount of money and I got this many evals. Maybe not all the evals booked, but some of them will. A lot of them will. Another thing I've been starting to even look at too, because I'm like, if it costs $30 to get a patient from Facebook ads, is it better for me to just continue to do more and more Facebook ads? Like, why? Okay, so now let's compare a workshop. What is our cost to acquire a customer from a workshop? At least for our clinic, I don't do workshops anymore because it stresses me out and I can hire it out at this point. So I have one of my OTs or PTs do the workshop, one of our staff members. So you think about their time, say you're paying them $50 an hour. You're paying, okay, they prep for an hour, there's $50. They go to the workshop for an hour, that's $50. And then there's probably some drive time there and back, or people staying late, lingering, and ask questions. So it's at least $150 to do a workshop. If you're doing it yourself, I mean, you can look at it that didn't cost you anything, but your time and your effort actually is a lot of worth. So I would even up that to $100 an hour, say you're spending. Okay, if you're only averaging one lead per workshop, then your cost to acquire a customer from the workshop is about $150 to $200. So our Facebook ads, $30 to get a customer. Our workshops, for us, we do average just one per workshop. Maybe we stink at workshops, I don't know. But typically we average one per workshop at our rural location anyway. So that's about $150 to $200 to acquire that patient. And that's actually still considered fine. When we run our numbers, that's fine to spend $200 to get a new patient. It's definitely on the higher side. So if we're looking at what's more strategic with our marketing funds, for us, it's more strategic to do Facebook ads. But overall, we like to have a mixture and get out in the community. And sometimes it's hard to measure the full ROI, even on Facebook ads. Like someone might see it now and just be like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I see them everywhere. Like that's a clinic to go to. And then down the road, they might call you, not even from clicking your ad. Same with a workshop, obviously. There's more return than you think if you get a patient from it, or even just building that relationship with that gym that you're doing it at. So there's also return it's difficult to measure, but it is interesting to put a number to it, to actually think like, okay, I got one person out of that workshop, but that was worth my time. And another thing that can be helpful is to actually calculate how much each customer's client, patient is worth to your business. We just started running that calculation for our practice. And basically what we did is, okay, this person, they saw us for 35 visits. Like it was a lot. She's, we have some patients that stay for a long time. Okay, she's worth $5,000 she's spent at our clinic so far. This person, they only did the evaluation, so they're only worth this much. So you can actually calculate how much every customer has spent and average it. And ours is a little over $1,000 is how much each patient spends on average. So then if we think about that, $1,000 is about 5 treatment visits. So we're averaging 5 treatment visits per patient. Could be higher. I wish it was, but that's the reality. $1,000, 5 treatment visits at $200 a session. And in order to staff that and cover our overhead, that's going to be around $350 by the time you pay your therapist for those hours to see the patients, and your admin and your overhead for your clinic space and gloves. So person is worth to us $1,000. We spent $350 to service that patient. So that leaves us with how much? $650? Yeah, $650. But we want to have on average, this is what I hear across, is that when you are really scaled, a 30% profit margin is considered pretty good in the PT, OT, pelvic health world. So we want to have 30% of that being profit. So 300 of that being profit. So 300 profit, 350 is overhead. And then we are left with this extra money. So we've spent 650, some for our profit margin, some to cover the overhead, but the patient's worth 1,000 to us. So technically, 1,000 minus 650, which is 350, we have $350 to spend to acquire that patient. So that's all marketing money. So it can make you feel a little bit better to actually run these numbers. Like, okay, like I got a patient in the clinic. We got one person from our workshop. That cost us $200 to acquire that patient, but it's still worth it. We're still having a profit. We are fulfilling the service, and we didn't go over the budget of $350. And same thing with Facebook ads. There are a variety of outcomes with Facebook ads across the US. Our return is higher than I typically see. Most people aren't getting a 30x return where you put $1 in and get $30 out. Most clinics are closer to a 10x return, put $1 and get $10 out. But if you think about it, even if you spent $350 to get that patient, it's actually still worth it to you. You're still profiting 30% and paying your people and helping someone. Obviously, that's the most important thing. Okay, I think this is important that I clarify. I'm not advocating that you spend all of your money on ads. I'm not advocating that if you have a 60% profit margin, you spend way more money until you're only down to a 30% profit margin. Like you spend all that on ads until you're down to 30%. What I'm saying is you should do a cost benefit analysis and see if you spend another 10% on ads and you drop your profit margin down to 50%, how much more gross revenue are you going to have? If you're going to double your gross revenue by putting 10% more into ads, then that is a worthwhile change. All right. Last category of marketing is doctor marketing. And this is where you can really see the cost to acquire a customer can get really, really low. So if doctor marketing does work well for you, it is a great way. Say you go to 15 offices. That seems like a lot of hours, like just out there. It really sucks. But if you're going to 15 offices, even if one of them refers to you, say they refer 15 patients to you, and that took 15 hours of marketing to go to all 15 offices, you're still doing great. And you got to think about all the years that they're hopefully referring to you. And I mean, the tricky thing with doctor referrals too is you have to kind of nurture that relationship. A lot of times, if you're not keeping up with that doctor, they'll kind of fall off the bandwagon and stop referring to you. And then you got to bring yourself to front of mind for them again. So it does take nurturing for that. But really your CAC, your cost to acquire a customer, is often pretty cheap with the doctor marketing if you can stand to do that, which is really tough for me. Yeah, prefer to spend $30 to $50 to avoid doing a lot of doctor marketing, but we do it. I suck it up and do it. All right. We talked about this before, but a lot of people are just spending hours on Canva, creating these cute images, posting them on social media. Like, what's the cost there? All the time you take to post. And so recently, I've heard some data that Instagram, your average reach is only 7%. So you're only hitting 7% of your audience when you post organically. Now it's more of a pay to play scenario. If you've seen views, if you have great content, I mean, we have pretty good content, I think. We have funny content. At first, when I started a couple years ago, if we had good content, it would go viral and we get paid for views on our ads. We get paid $2,000 a month for our reels because Facebook puts like ads on them and stuff. They monetize them for us. It was great, but I knew it was probably going to be short-lived, and Facebook really wants to be paid. So now it's all changed. Organic reach is down so much. Before, we could get away with a great video. It would get so much reach. Now, if we have a great video, it might get a lot of views, but we're not getting more warm reach from it. We're not getting more followers usually. And so, yeah, back to the data, only about 7% of people see your organic content. The year before it was 18%. The year before it was 32%. That's another thing we want to look at with spending our time. Say our time is equivalent to a dollar amount, and you can figure out what that dollar amount is. Is that really worth spending a lot of time posting? So right now, our clinic, we are posting more every other day. You want to be posting not necessarily to get patients, but posting to nurture potential patients. So a lot of times our Facebook ad, it doesn't just work alone. If we had no content, they click our ad and they're like, who is this Inspire? Like, let me look at their profile. And if we didn't have anything posted in 5 years, they'd be like, oh, geez, I think they're probably like out of business. Like, why did this ad come on my page? But if they click your ad and they go to your page and they're like, oh my gosh, these people are hilarious. Or like, I feel like I know these people. Like, okay, like I'm in a book, or like, oh, this is cool. They click out of your ad, they look at your account, and then they're kind of onto other things. But then the next time your ad comes up, they're like, oh, okay, I'm doing this. Like, this is gonna be cool. So we're using content now more to nurture potential clients that come in from our paid advertising efforts. So having content is important, but we also need to look at, like, just posting 3 times a day. Are we having more of an ROI from that? Probably not as a brick and mortar business. So we are trying to go as minimal as possible. We're posting every other day right now because we know we want to keep it current and keep our audience engaged. But really, how many people are actually seeing this? And we want to have content so when people are clicking our paid ads, they see stuff, or if they're just looking us up, they see some really good content that's at least somewhat recent. Last point, I really want to encourage pelvic health practice owners to take it upon themselves to learn the technology, learn social media. And I mean, when I started, I didn't know how to make a reel. Like, I didn't even have Instagram. My OT, she's younger. I'm 29. She's like 25. She's like, Maddie, we need TikTok. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't even know how to use TikTok, but we got a TikTok because I think it's really important to stay up with where are the people these days? What are they doing? And it can be really intimidating, but you have to just try. You can find out a lot on Google and trial and error and see what other people are doing. If you're posting reels and they're not getting views, like, look at someone that is getting views. How long are their reels on average? And what topics are they hitting? If you're standing in front of a computer recording 5-minute video about how you should go to a cash pay clinic instead of insurance-based clinic, like, that's probably not going to get a lot of views. So just take note. What are other people doing that's working? And don't be afraid to use technology, even if you feel like you're old or you can't do it, or we just have to stay up with the times and we have to learn it because that's how marketing is these days. I really feel like, unfortunately, a lot of older business owners are getting taken advantage of because they feel so uncomfortable trying to use the technology, so they hire it out. And I think it's really dangerous to hire out your marketing to a marketing agency. It's a lot of wasted money, and you can find so much online right now. I mean, through different programs, we help people run Facebook ads but you can find a lot on YouTube. But it can be, you can get really suckered with these marketing agencies that aren't PT, OT specific, that are saying they're going to get you more patients through doing your social media. One of my friends is paying for someone to do social media for her. And we need to measure the ROI on that. If you're paying someone $2,000 to post like cute Canva images on your social media, and there's only 7.6% of your audience looking at it, like, that is not a good return. In this episode, I just wanted to chat more about how we can objectively look at our marketing efforts and at least do our best to attempt to calculate how much each effort is costing and compare that and look at it realistically too. We don't want to spend too much money to acquire a patient, but we have a pretty big budget at the same time. As pelvic health business owners, if you're charging around $200 a session and you're doing a good job, you probably have a couple $100 just to find one more patient. And that's a good way to scale. I was recently doing an ads course, and they were saying the goal for large scaled businesses isn't to get their cost per customer lower. My goal shouldn't be like, okay, like, all right, I want to try to get evals this month for only $25. It's more, can I push this ad out and really get those people that are initially going to click on it and book? Like, those are the hot ones. Those are the ones that are costing us $30. But if we really push it out more to that next layer of people that's a little on the fence, maybe for those people we're paying closer to $80. But if we're getting another large group of people to come in by spending more on our ad, getting more impressions, maybe the cost per customer starts to go up, maybe even to $100. Say it's $100 per customer. That's still okay. If you've run your numbers and you think, okay, I can spend $100 to get a customer, a patient, because I know I can spend up to $350. And if I'm going to spend more, I'm going to start to reach the people that are maybe like, all right, I'll do this thing. Like, I keep seeing their ad. Like, let's try this. It's not the surface level that are just, your $25 to $50 customers that are hot to trot. This is the, okay. So we're spending a little more on these people because we're pushing the ad out even more to them. They keep seeing it. What the heck? What is this? Okay, yeah, I'll try it. Then we can actually just hire more staff to take care of these patients. And we're still getting our awesome profit margin. We're getting that patient the help they need. And we're making more money, even though it feels like we're spending more. So that's another way to look at it too. Even for workshops, you can think about that. Like, okay, if it's $200 to do a workshop, so it's basically $200 to get a new patient from a workshop. If you guys are on the same level as we are, probably a lot of you guys are better. Some of you guys are really, really dynamic speakers, and thank you. Good work. If you're getting 2 patients, 3, 4 from a workshop, can you scale that? I think we should look at that. If you're getting 4 per workshop, are you gonna meet eventually the workshop demand in your area, or could you just run one every week? If you're getting 4 patients a week from workshops, that's 16 new evals. You could scale using workshops. Again, we don't want to just be willy-nilly. Yeah, it's $200 to do this workshop, but I'm getting 2 patients. Like, I'm going to pound and do more workshops because I like it, and I'm going to scale by doing this. And then when I hire staff, I'm going to teach them and have them do workshops because that works really well for us. For us, the Facebook ads are great, and that's the least work for me. Other people, the doctor marketing. And so that's a way to think about it, not get too freaked out. Like, okay, we're spending a lot of money like on marketing, but looking at the return like, holy cow, if we can keep getting more and more and more and more and more patients and staff it, then we're going to have a multi-million-dollar business pretty quickly. All right, I hope you found this interesting and liked all the talk about dollars and calculations. Hopefully my calculations were right on the spot. They might have been a little off, but I think you got my vibe. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'll have to have my husband Zach do more of the money talk. He's a CFO and a CPA and whatever. I don't know what he does during the day. It's just like he doesn't know what we do during the day, like for the pelvic floor stuff. Like he has zero clue what is going on with that. He won't let me practice any techniques on him, but he knows the financial stuff. So yeah, we're going to have him on and he'll get the numbers a little better than I do. But I think you got my vibe. And as always, I'm trying new stuff and not afraid to really try anything. Even if someone else isn't doing it, I'm going to try it and see if it works and use the results and the numbers to guide future decisions. All right, I'll let you guys go. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.